I died, choking on my own screams. The neighbor's gloved hand clamped over my mouth as the knife twisted into my gut, his whisper hot against my ear. "You should have minded your own business, Delilah." The last thing I saw was my son, little Tommy, playing in the yard next door, oblivious, while the rosebush we'd planted together years ago swayed like a mocking sentinel over my shallow grave. But death isn't the end, it's a goddamn reset button. And when I gasped awake in my old body, heart pounding like a jackhammer, I knew, this time, I'd bury that bastard before he buried me. It was a Tuesday morning in July. The kind of sticky heat that makes the air in suburban Ohio feel like breathing through a wet towel. I was 32 again, staring at my reflection in the bathroom mirror of our split-level ranch house on Elm Street, freckles across my nose. That stupid chin-length bob I'd sworn I'd grow out but never did. The date on my phone read July 15th, 2018. 3 months before it all went to hell in my first life. Tommy was 5. His dinosaur pajamas still rumpled from sleep, banging on the door yelling for pancakes. "Mommy, hurry up. The T-Rex is hungry." I froze, the shampoo bottle slipping from my fingers and shattering on the tile. This wasn't a dream. The scar on my knee from that biking accident in '09, still there, pink and puckered. The faint stretch marks from carrying Tommy, fading but real. And the weight in my chest, the knowledge of what was coming, like a tumor I couldn't cut out. I'd been poisoned by regret in my past life. Married too young to a deadbeat named Rick who bailed when Tommy was 2. Scraping by as a part-time paralegal in Cleveland while freelancing ghostwriting for sleazy true crime podcasts. It paid the bills. Barely. But it put me too close to the underbelly of this cookie-cutter neighborhood. Our next-door neighbor, Harlan Graves, was the king of the block. Mid-40s, silver fox handsome with a jawline that could cut glass. He ran a real estate firm downtown, flipping houses for tech bros invading from Silicon Valley knockoffs in Columbus. Everyone loved him, the barbecues, the holiday lights that rivaled Clark Griswold's, the way he'd coach Little League and slip kids extra innings with a wink. But I knew better. Even then, in my first life, I'd overheard him on a call one night, voice low and venomous, talking about cleaning up loose ends. I dismissed it as stress until I started digging for a podcast gig on unsolved missing persons in the Midwest. That's when I found the thread. Harlan's first wife, Vanessa, vanished in 2012. No body, no leads, just a hefty life insurance payout, and Harlan moving on to wife number 2, a vapid yoga instructor who lasted a year before amicably divorcing. Vanessa's sister, Marlene, had hounded the cops, but Harlan's money and charm buried the case faster than a Midwest winter. I'd interviewed Marlene off record, her voice cracking over the phone. He did something to her. Delilah. I know it. Those roses he planted in the backyard? She hated roses, allergies. But he insisted, like it was a tribute. I'd laughed it off at the time, nerves jangling. But curiosity is a bitch, and it led me to snoop during one of Harlan's block parties. I'd slipped into his yard while he was manning the grill, Tommy tugging at my hand for another hot dog. Under those perfect, thorn-riddled rosebushes, imported from some fancy nursery in Napa, I'd seen it. The soil was too loose, too fresh, like it had been turned over recently. My gut screamed grave, but I chickened out, told myself it was paranoia from too many Dateline episodes. 3 months later, Harlan cornered me in my garage after I'd left an anonymous tip with the sheriff's office. "You think you're clever, sweetheart," he'd hissed, the knife glinting under the fluorescent light. He'd stabbed me 6 times. Efficient and silent. Then dragged my body next door under cover of night. The rosebush hid my corpse for weeks until a storm unearthed part of my arm. Tommy found it. Screaming bloody murder. The cops ruled it a tragic accident, pinned it on a drifter, because Harlan's lawyer was a shark and the evidence was planted to perfection. Now, back in this body. Sweat beading on my forehead as Tommy pounded the door again. I vowed, no more playing nice. Harlan Graves was a monster in khakis, and that rosebush was his tombstone. I'd make sure the world saw the rot underneath. Breakfast was a blur. I slathered peanut butter on toast for Tommy, my hands shaking so bad I smeared it on the counter. "Mommy, why's your face all funny?" he asked. Those big blue eyes, Rick's eyes, staring up at me. I forced a smile, ruffled his hair. "Just thinking about dinosaurs." "Buddy, what's your favorite?" "T-Rex." "Rawr." He chomped the air. And for a split second, the terror eased. This was why I'd come back for him. In my first life, the funeral had broken him. He'd wet the bed for months, asking when Mommy was coming home from her long trip. Harlan had even played the grieving uncle, bringing casseroles and toys, all while my bones moldered 6 feet from his patio. I needed a plan. Coffee black and scalding. I scrolled my phone, same old contacts, same empty inbox. No Marlene yet. She'd moved to Florida after the investigation. But I remembered her number. Burned into my brain. Later, I'd call. Plant the seed without tipping my hand. First, though, I had to get close to Harlan without raising flags. He was having a neighborhood watch meeting tonight. Ironic, right? Keeping our streets safe, he'd say. All smiles and firm handshakes. By afternoon, the sun was a hammer on the cul-de-sac. Tommy was in the backyard, our chain-link fence rattling as he kicked a soccer ball against it. Ours backed up to Harlan's, separated by a line of arborvitae that did jack for privacy. I watched from the kitchen window, heart in my throat, as he veered too close to the property line. "Tommy, stay on our side." But kids don't listen. The ball sailed over, bouncing right into Harlan's pristine lawn. Tommy scrambled after it, giggling. And that's when it happened. His foot caught the edge of the rosebush bed. That thorny beast Harlan babed like a firstborn. Stems snapped. Dirt flew. And Tommy tumbled in, yelping as thorns scratched his arms. I bolted out the back door, flip-flops slapping concrete. Tommy, oh God, he was sitting up, ball in hand, dirt-streaked cheeks turning red. But my eyes locked on the bush, uprooted, soil mounded like a fresh grave. Something glinted in the churned earth, a corner of metal, rusted but unmistakable. Harlan's voice boomed from his side. "What in the hell?" He stormed around the fence, face thunderous. But I was already there, scooping Tommy up, brushing him off. "I'm so sorry, Harlan." "He's just a kid." His eyes flicked to the bush, then back to me, calculating. That smile snapped on like a mask. "No harm done, Delilah. Kids'll be kids. I'll replan it." But his jaw ticked. And I saw it, the flicker of fear. He didn't know I knew. Not yet. That night, at the watch meeting in his garage, folding chairs, weak punch, and Harlan's baritone droning about stranger danger, I played the part. Nervous single mom, laughing at his jokes, complimenting his green thumb. Tommy fidgeted on my lap, whispering about this scary bush with teeth. Harlan overheard. Chuckled too loud. Just roses. Sport. Pretty. But they bite if you're not careful. When we got home, I tucked Tommy in with extra stories, then locked every door. In the dim glow of my laptop, I started typing an anonymous email to Marlene. Vanessa's not gone. Check the roses. Attach a blurry photo I'd snapped of the disturbed soil. That metal edge just visible. Send. Heart racing. I poured a glass of cheap Merlot and sat on the porch, staring at the stars smeared by city haze. Revenge wasn't a sprint. It was a marathon with landmines. Harlan would suspect someone, but not me. Not the ditzy neighbor who'd once flirted back at his pool parties. In my first life, I'd ignored the red flags, the late-night arguments audible through thin walls, the way his second wife, Lena, sported bruises she called yoga mishaps. I'd waved hello, borrowed sugar, pretended we were all just normal folks chasing the American dream. But normal was a lie. Harlan had killed Vanessa, choked her during a fight over his affair, panicked, buried her in the yard because the basement was too obvious. I'd pieced it together post-mortem, from police files leaked by a sympathetic detective. The metal box? Her jewelry? Maybe. Or a suicide note he'd forged to cover tracks. Whatever it was leverage. Days blurred into a tense routine. Tommy's scratches healed, but he had nightmares about the bush monster. I dosed him with Benadryl and lullabies, guilt gnawing at me for dragging him into this. Harlan replanted the rosebush overnight, new stems. Identical. Like nothing happened. But I caught him watching our house, binoculars from his deck, pretending to read the paper. Then the calls started. Heavy breathing. My gut twisted, Harlan testing waters. I changed locks, got a Ring camera, told work I needed time off for family stuff. Freelance dried up anyway. Who wants a ghostwriter with ghosts of her own? Marlene responded on day 5. Delilah? Is this you? What the fuck do you mean about the roses? I met her at a diner off I-71, 40 miles out, where truckers slurped coffee and the booths smelled like grease and regret. She was older than I remembered, gray streaks in her bob, eyes hollowed by years of grief. I sent the photo to a PI buddy, she said, voice low. He's digging literally. But if it's nothing, Delilah, you're stirring shit that could get us both sued. It's not nothing, I whispered, glancing over my shoulder. A state trooper at the counter eyed us, but it was just paranoia. Harlan's hiding her. I feel it. Lie. Half-truth. How do you explain you've died and come back? She'd think I was nuts. She leaned in, fork stabbing her eggs. Why now? What's changed? I swallowed. Tommy broke the bush. Saw something metal. That's all. Her face hardened. That boy's your everything. Isn't he? Like Vanessa was mine. We hugged goodbye, brittle and desperate. And I drove home with white knuckles on the wheel, radio blasting Springsteen to drown the what-ifs. Harlan upped the ante that weekend. A welcome-back barbecue, his way of sniffing for weakness. The block turned out. Karen from across the street with her kale salad. The Miller's twins terrorizing the bounce house. Tommy ran wild, face painted like a pirate, while I nursed a seltzer. Eyes on Harlan flipping burgers like a TV dad. He sidled up, plate in hand. You seem tense, Delilah. Everything okay at home? Rick still being a prick about visitation? Rick. The ex who'd ghosted us for a bimbo in Akron. Harlan knew too much, always did. From neighborhood gossip. We're fine, I said. Smile brittle. Just the heat. He nodded, eyes lingering on Tommy. Good kid. Takes after you, curious.
Hey.
Speaking of that bush mishap, no hard feelings. But kids digging around. Dangerous these days. Loose dirt. Old junk. Could get hurt. Threat wrapped in concern. Classic Harlan. I laughed it off. I'll keep him leashed. As dusk fell, fireworks popping early for the 4th, I slipped away to the side yard. Harlan's roses glowed under string lights, petals like blood in the twilight. I crouched, gloved hands probing the soil. Soft. Still. My fingers brushed metal, cold, unyielding. The box. Small, like a lunch pail, locked tight. I tugged, heart slamming, but it wouldn't budge. Footsteps crunched gravel. Harlan. Calling for Lena. I melted into the shadows. Pulse thundering. Close. Too close. But now I had proof in my mind's eye. The box was real. Vanessa's locket. Maybe. Engraved with her initials. Enough to crack him. Monday brought rain. Biblical sheets that turned Elm Street into a river. Tommy had a fever. Clingy and whiny. So I canceled errands. Barricaded in with cartoons and soup. My phone buzzed, Marlene. PI hit pay dirt. Soil samples from the bush bed. Human remains. Trace DNA. It's her. Delilah. Vanessa. Elation warred with terror. Cops.
Not yet.
Harlan's got pull at the station. His brother-in-law's a sergeant. We need ironclad before we move. I paced the living room. Tommy's cough rattling like loose change. Ironclad meant the box. Meant risking everything. That night. Fever-breaking. Tommy begged to play outside. The rain made puddles. Mommy, like lakes for dinos. I hesitated. Then nodded. Life jackets for the T-Rexes. We splashed in the yard. Lightning flickering distant. Thunder grumbling like a drunk uncle. Tommy veered to the fence again. Splashing mud. Look. Mommy. Mud volcano. And there it was. Erosion from the downpour had loosened the soil further. The box peeked out. Half exposed. Rain pooling around it. Tommy. Honey. Come see this. Voice steady. But inside. A storm. He toddled over. Splashing. Treasure? Something like that. I knelt, pried with a stick from the fence. The lock rusted through, pop. Inside, a woman's necklace. Gold chain snapped. A diary. Pages warped but legible, and a USB drive. Tiny and black. Tommy reached for it. Shiny.
No.
Baby, Mommy's got it. I snapped the lid shut.
Pocketed it.
Hauled him inside for baths and bed. Harlan's lights blazed next door, he knew. The diary was Vanessa's, loopy script detailing Harlan's rages. Affairs. The night he snapped, he said I'd ruin him if I left. Grabbed my throat. I blacked out. Woke up in the hole. The USB? Audio files, her voice. Terrified. Begging. Harlan, please. I emailed copies to Marlene. Anonymous Dropbox for the PI. Then, the controversial call, I confronted Rick. Not for help, for distraction. Your son's in danger, I texted. Get your ass to Ohio or I'll tell Tommy what a coward you are, he showed, bleary-eyed from a bender, crashing on the couch. Harlan saw the truck in the drive, assumed reconciliation. Bought me time. But revenge has teeth. Harlan cornered me in the grocery lot 2 days later. Rain-slicked asphalt gleaming under sodium lights. Found your little gift to Marlene, he murmured. Breath, whiskey sour. Thought we were friends. Delilah. Friends. The word curdled. We are. Until we're not. He grabbed my wrist. Bruises blooming instant. Digging graves? That's my job. His eyes cold. Appraising. Tommy looks just like his daddy. Accidents happen to little boys. The threat landed like a gut punch. I yanked free, fled to the car, locked doors shaking. Home. Rick snored on the sofa, useless as tits on a bowl. I barricaded the bedroom, USB hidden in the mattress. Sleep came fitful, dreams of roses choking me. Dawn brought cops, not ours. Harlan's PI. Flashing badges from a rival county. Welfare check on Tommy. Rick answered the door. Hungover haze. Lady says the kid's unsafe. Bruises from thorns. I stormed down. Voice steel. Bullshit. That's slander. They left. But the damage festered, CPS looming. Whispers on the block. Karen from across the street crossed the street literal, avoiding my eyes. Harlan waved from his porch. Smug as sin. Marlene called at noon. Warrant incoming. But Harlan's lawyered up, stalling. We need you to testify.
Testify.
Expose my snooping. My death I couldn't explain. And Tommy? Safe house. Maybe. Short term.
No.
Fuck that. This was America, land of the free. Home of the armed. I drove to Walmart. Bought a .38 from a guy in the parking lot. No questions. Cash deal. The underbelly I'd always ignored. Loaded it in the car. Hid it in the glove box. Controversial? Hell yes. Single mom packing heat? I'd own that heat before letting Harlan touch my boy. The high school reunion was the perfect storm. Harlan's idea. Block party twist. Alumni mixer in the park. Rick bailed early, muttering about work, leaving me solo with Tommy on a blanket, fireflies dancing like drunk stars. Harlan held court by the grill, Lena on his arm, her laugh tinny. He approached at twilight, beer in hand. Dance with me, Delilah? For old times. Old times. High school flirtation. Nothing more. I stood, handed Tommy a glow stick. One song. The band played Sweet Home Alabama, ironic twang. His hand on my waist. Too low. You should have stayed out of it, he breathed. Vanessa was mine to handle. Like me? The word slipped. Reckless. His grip tightened. What did you say? The crowd blurred. I twisted free. Voice low. I know about the box. The diary. Everything. Panic flashed.
Raw.
You bitch, he lunged. But I was ready, elbow to his throat, knee to groin. He wheezed.
Doubling.
The band faltered, heads turned. Tommy screamed. Mommy, cops, real ones, swarmed minutes later. Marlene's tip paying off. Harlan cuffed. Snarling. She's lying. Psycho neighbor. But the USB played on a bystander's phone. Vanessa's voice. Damning. The park erupted. Gasps. Phones out. Liv tweeting the takedown. Lena bolted,
Sobbing.
the block's facade cracked wide. In the chaos, Twist, Rick, lurking by the trees, confessed. He'd known. Harlan paid him hush money for years.
To spy on me.
Thought it was just debts, he blubbered to the uniforms. Betrayal squared. But it sealed Harlan's fate. Conspiracy. Accessory. Interrogation room. Fluorescent buzz. I sat across from the detective, Tommy coloring in the hall with a uniform. How'd you know?
Yes.
Hale? Timing's uncanny.
Lucky guess, I lied.
Sipping vending machine coffee. Inside. The reset hummed, death's gift. Harlan's trial was a circus. 6 months of headlines. Suburban slaughter splashed across the plain dealer. Vanessa's remains exhumed. Diary authenticated. He took the stand, silver tongue unraveling. She fell. I panicked. Jury didn't buy it. Life without parole. No tears from the gallery.
Me?
Cleared, but scarred. CPS dropped the probe. Rick vanished for good. Custody mine unchallenged. Tommy started kindergarten. Dinosaur backpack swinging. Nightmares fading. We sold the house. Too many ghosts. Moved to a cabin in the Hocking Hills. Woods whispering secrets of their own. Evenings. We plant wildflowers. No thorns. Mommy, why no roses? Tommy asks once. Dirt on his nose. Because some secrets need sunlight, I say, pulling him close. And for the first time, the weight lifts. Reborn. Unburied.
Alive.
But late nights, wine glass in hand, I wonder, was it mercy or madness? The gun in the drawer, unfired but loaded. The lies I told. America forgives reinvention. But does it absolve? Harlan rots in Chillicothe. But the mirror shows my eyes harder, sharper. Revenge tasted sweet. But the aftertaste? Bitter as buried bones. Tommy laughs from his room, dreaming of T-Rexes. For him, I'd do it again. In a heartbeat. The cabin smelled like pine and fresh paint, a far cry from Elm Street's stale suburbia. We'd been here 2 weeks. Boxes still half unpacked. Tommy's toys spilling across the warped oak floors like colorful shrapnel. Mornings, I'd wake to birdsong instead of leaf blowers. Brew coffee strong enough to strip varnish. And watch mist curl off the hills like cigarette smoke from a ghost. It was peace. Fragile as eggshell. But peace nonetheless. Yet the reset lingered. A low hum under my skin. Dying teaches you things. How fragile trust is. How betrayal festers like untreated wounds. Harlan was gone. But his shadow stretched. Whispers from old neighbors via Facebook groups. Poor Lena. Blindsided. Delilah always seemed off.
Off.
As if unearthing a killer made me the villain. Work trickled back. A true crime publisher emailed. Your story's gold, ghostwriter. Who ghosted a ghost? Let's talk book. I ghosted them instead. No more digging for dollars. I'd write my own truths. On my terms. Afternoons. Tommy and I hiked the trails, his small hand in mine, pointing at deer tracks. Mommy, is that a Dino print? Close enough. Kiddo. Laughter came easier now. Unforced. But Rick's confession gnawed. I'd confronted him post-trial. In a sterile coffee shop off Route 33. Steam rising from our mugs like unspoken accusations. How long? I demanded. Voice low to not scare the barista. He'd shrugged. shoulders hunched like a whipped dog. Since Vanessa. Harlan fronted me cash for the Akron place, said keep tabs on you. Make sure you didn't poke around. Thought it was real estate drama. Drama. The word tasted like ash. You sold me out for a down payment? His eyes, Tommy's eyes, flickered shame. I was drowning. Delilah. Child support. The bar tabs. He made it easy. Easy. Like my life was a flip he could profit from. I'd walked out, left him with the bill, blocked his number. But the damage? Etched deep. Trust wasn't just broken, it was pulverized. Marlene visited one crisp October weekend, leaves turning the hills to fire. She brought pie, apple, from a farm stand, and photos of Vanessa, gap-toothed grin at prom, wedding veil fluttering in wind. She'd love this place, Marlene said, sipping cider on the porch as Tommy chased fireflies in the yard.
Free.
Wild. We talked late. Stars pricking the velvet sky. You saved her. In a way, she murmured. Gave her justice. Justice. A word that chafed. Or, I dragged a dead woman through the mud. Her diary, those recordings. Private hell. Aired for all. Marlene's hand on mine. Calloused from years waitressing. Hell's what he put her in. You lit the match. Tommy barreled and then. Jar clutched tight with glowing bugs. Look. Aunt Mar. Stars in a bottle. We released them at bedtime. Tiny lights winking out one by one. Marlene left at dawn. Hugging fierce. Your family now. Call anytime. Winter crept in soft. Snow blanketing the hills like forgiveness. Tommy built forts. I shoveled driveways for neighbors, real ones. Loggers and artists. Not khaki-clad phonies. Christmas, a scraggly tree we cut ourselves. Ornaments from dollar stores. But his joy made it magic. Best ever. Mommy. New Year's. Alone with champagne from the gas station. I toasted the reset. To second chances. But the .38 in the nightstand drawer? It stayed. A cold comfort. Controversial choice. Arming up in a world that vilifies scared moms. Yet in those dark hours, when wind howled like Harlan's laugh, it whispered safety. Spring thawed the lies. A letter arrived, forwarded from Elm Street. Harlan. From prison. You win, Delilah. But blood tells. Tommy's more mine than you know, and signed, but his scrawl. Blood tells. What the hell? Rick's eyes. Sure. But Harlan? Paranoia spiked. I pored over old photos. Timelines. Tommy conceived October 12, right when Harlan's rages peaked with Vanessa.
No.
Impossible. Rick and I were solid then.
Or so I'd thought.
I drove to Columbus. PI on retainer, Marlene's guy. Owed favors. Paternity test, he asked. Brow arched. Discreet. Swabs from Tommy's toothbrush. Mailed anonymous. Results in a week. 99.9% Rick. Relief flooded.
Sharp.
But the seed planted. Doubt. Harlan's mind games. Even caged. Summer brought heat. Lazy days by the creek. Tommy learned to swim, splashing like a seal, while I picnicked under willows. One afternoon, phone buzzed, unknown number. Delilah Hale? Yeah.
Detective Ruiz.
Chillicothe PD. Graves wants a deal. Says he has info on your ex. Rick's not clean. My blood iced. What kind? Embezzlement from his firm. Harlan covered it once. Leverage? I laughed.
Bitter.
Tell him to rot. But curiosity, the old curse, nibbled. Rick's firm, auto parts. Shady deals I'd ignored. I called an old paralegal buddy. Fished casual. Rick?
Yeah.
Bounced checks. But nothing sticks. Nothing. Until the buddy emailed docs. Forged invoices. Harlan's signature buried in the fine print. Rick's debt paid by blood money. Rage simmered. Slow burn. I drove to Akron unannounced. Found Rick in a dive bar. Nursing a pint. We need to talk. He's startled. Sloshed beer.
Del?
What? Harlan's payoffs. You laundered his dirty cash.
Danielle crumbled fast.
It was loans. He said Vanessa's insurance covered it. Liar. I slapped the docs down. You pimped our son for scraps. He crumpled. Tears mixing with suds. I fucked up. But Tommy, he's good.
Right?
That's all that matters. Good because I shielded him. I left him there. Broken. But the drive home clarified. Cut the cord full. Lawyer next day, full custody. No contact. Signed.
Sealed.
Fall again. Tommy starting first grade via homeschool co-op. Hikers kids. Eclectic bunch. He thrived. Reading chapter books. Drawing adventure maps of our woods. Evenings. Stories by the fire. My inventions. Laced with truths. Once. A brave lady fought a dragon in her garden. His eyes wide. Did she win? Damn right. But the twist brewed underground. Like roots twisting soil. Marlene called one November Eve. Voice hushed. Harlan's appealing. New evidence says you coerced the box recovery. Tommy is bait.
Bait. My boy.
Fury blinded. I stormed the cabin. .38 in hand. Practicing dry fire in the yard. Shadows long. Controversial? A mom training to kill? In America. It's Tuesday. PI dug deeper. Harlan's cellmate. A hack lawyer. Feeding lies. Motive?
Delay. Slow.
I visited Harlan. Glass partition cold between us. He looked diminished, pauncher. Gray stubble. Delilah. Come to gloat. Cut the shit. The appeal? His grin. Wolfish. Truth hurts. You planted doubts. Rick's my blood?
Nah.
But what if? Lies. But they stuck like burrs.
Tommy's minne.
Biologically? Sure. But I raised him visits.
Toys.
Uncles leave marks. Sick fuck.
I leaned in.
Your marks end here. Back home. I hugged Tommy extra. Buried the gun deeper. But sleep evaded. Nightmares of roses blooming blood. Winter's grip tightened. Holidays bittersweet. Marlene joined us. Pie and photos ritual. Tommy asked about the bad man once. Crayon and fist. Is he gone forever? As gone as snow in summer, I lied.
Smooth.
New Year dawned crisp. Resolutions whispered. Live louder. Book deal resurfaced. I signed. Memoir outline. Unburied. A mother's reckoning. Agent thrilled. Controversial gold. Armed widow versus Suburbia. Widow. Harlan's wife killer tag. Stuck to me by osmosis. Spring unearthed the real twist. PI's final report. Tucked in my inbox like a bomb. Rick's DNA, rechecked. Anomaly flagged. Harlan's appeal lawyer? Subpoenaed Tommy's sample.
No.
Heart stuttered. The swab I'd sent tampered? Or truth? Uglier? I confronted the PI. Voice cracking. Run it again.
Now.
Lab rush job. Marlene footing bill. Results: 0% Harlan. 99.9% Rick. False flag. Harlan's bluff. Using a planted sample from an old case. Relief crashed. Then rage. He'd weaponized my fear. Twisted love to torment. I wrote him last. Game over. Rot alone. His reply. Via smuggle note. Second chances? Enjoy yours. I never got one. Chills. But I burned it. Ashes in the creek. Summer solstice. Full moon. Tommy and I planted sunflowers, tall, unthorny sentinels. For light, he said, wise beyond years.
Light.
Yeah. The book sold pre-pub. Tour booked. Marlene godmother official. Rick, a ghost. Faded. Yet in quiet, I ponder the cost, the lies, the gun, the grave I danced on. Reborn, but scarred. America, land of reinvention, where secrets bury deep but truth rises, thorny and triumphant. Tommy laughs. Sunflowers nodding. For him, the world blooms anew. The book tour kicked off in Cleveland, a homecoming laced with irony, Barnes and Noble on Shaker Square, shelves groaning under autumn releases. I stood at the signing table, Sharpie in hand, face powdered to hide the hollow's sleep deprivation carved. Unburied, had dropped like a grenade, New York Times blurb calling it a raw gut punch to the picket fence myth, but the controversy?
Oh.
It simmered. Fox News segment. Vigilante mom or hero? Pundits dissected my .38 admission. Second Amendment cheerleaders versus soccer mom alarmists. Glamorizing violence, one shrieked. Surviving it, I countered on air, voice steady as rebar. Tommy stayed with Marlene. Video calls nightly. Mommy. I read 3 chapters. Pride swelled. But guilt nipped, leaving him. Even safe. Felt like abandonment's echo. Fans lined up post-reading. Women mostly. Eyes fierce. You gave me courage, one whispered. Sleeve pulled back to reveal faded bruises. A man. Burly in flannel. My sisters like Vanessa. Thanks for the blueprint. Blueprints for revenge, heady. Hazardous. But the backlash stung. Online trolls. Delilah Hale. Black Widow in waiting. Death threats pinged my inbox. Harlan's fan club from prison yards. Security shadowed me to hotels. A burly ex-cop named Mike, who cracked dad jokes to ease tension. Kids these days, he'd grunt. Scanning lots. No respect for rosebushes. Chicago leg. Signing mobbed. Q&A electric. A reporter cornered me after. The gun regrets? Flashbulbs popped like gunfire. Regrets are for the buried. I shot back. I chose life. Life. The word anchored me through the blur. Philly.
Boston. D.C.
Each city a mirror, suburbs hiding horrors. Women nodding in recognition. Sales soared. But isolation crept. Friends from the old life ghosted. Afraid of association. Marlene texted. Tommy a spelling bee. Miss you. Missed him like a limb. Flew home mid-tour. Cabin a sanctuary. He tackled me at the door. Mommy's famous. We baked cookies. Flour-dusted chaos. His giggles dissolving knots. But fame's hook dug deeper. Harlan's appeal hearing loomed, December. Columbus Courthouse. His lawyer, a slick weasel named Hargrove, subpoenaed me, key witness to alleged coercion. Coercion. As if I'd forced the Graves confession. Marlene's P.I. dug Hargrove on Harlan's payroll pre-arrest. Laundering through Rick's firm. Web of deceit. Sticky as spider silk. I prepped with my own shark, pro bono from the publisher. A feminist firebrand named Elena. They'll paint you hysterical, she warned over Zoom. Glasses perched like a hawk. Single mom. Unhinged by trauma. Stick to facts, the box. The files. Tommy's innocence. Innocence. The trial's shadow chilled the hills early. Reporters camped Elm Street. Graves' grave, puns in tabloids. Lena testified first, nervous. Botox smooth. Harlan was loving. Delilah. Obsessed. Obsessed. The word ignited forums. Delilah delusion trending. I ignored. Focused on Tommy's school play, Dino Christmas pageant. Him as a triceratops.
Horns askew.
Court day dawned gray. Snow flurries like confetti from hell. Courthouse steps mobbed. Cameras. Protesters with signs. Justice for Harlan versus. Unbury the truth. Elena flanked me. Mike scanning crowds. Inside. The gallery hummed. Marlene front row. Fist balled. Harlan entered. Shackled but suited. Eyes locking mine. Triumph glint. Miss me? Delilah? Like a rash, I muttered. Elena's hand on my arm. Testimony dragged. Forensics rehashing DNA. Diary authenticity. Then me on stand. Oath sworn. Lights harsh. Hargrove approached. Smile oily. MS.
Hail.
You admit arming yourself against Mr. Graves? Protected my son. With a concealed weapon. No permit. Elena objected, sustained. But the seed planted. Vigilante vibe. You encouraged the child, your son, to disturb Mr. Graves' property. Tommy played. Accident. Convenient. And this box. You retrieved it personally? Yes. Voice firm. Planted evidence.
No.
Outrage flickered. Jury shifted. He leaned in. Voice silk. You died. MS.
Hail.
Or so you claimed in your book, metaphorical. Of course. But isn't this all a fantasy? Grudge from a jilted neighbor. Gasps rippled. Elena jumped. Objection. Speculation. Sustained. But damage bloomed. Harlan smirked from the table. Cross-exam. Elena eviscerated. Mr. Hargrove. Did you launder funds for the defendant? Hesitation. Irrelevant. Overruled. Judge. A no-nonsense woman with silver bun. Hargrove squirmed. Docs waved. Emails. Transfers. Jury leaned in. Then the bomb. Rick, called by defense, took stand. Delilah knew about the payoffs. Used it to blackmail me.
Lies.
But his eyes, defeated.
Darting.
Hargrove fed him the script. Desperation's bargain. Elena shredded. You abandoned your family, Mr.
Dawson.
Motive to lie.
Yeah.
He cracked. Confessed collusion. Harlan promised reduced sentence if I flip. Court erupted. Bailiff banging gavel. Harlan lunged. Veins bulging. Traitor. Cuffed again. Dragged out snarling. Recess. Marlene hugged me in hall. You slayed. Not yet. Verdict next morning. Appeal denied. Harlan remanded. Gallery cheered. Outside, snow fell thick, muffling sobs from his supporters, mostly paid plants. But the real high came home. Tommy's drawing taped to fridge, a stick figure me with superhero cape, digging up a treasure chest under a happy sun. My brave mom.
Brave.
Tears pricked. That night, fire crackling, I told him a sliver truth. Once, a bad man tried to scare us. But we won because we stuck together. He nodded.
Solemn.
Like dinos in a herd.
Herd.
Family. Post-trial glow faded slow. Book climbed charts. Oprah whisper campaign. Potential pick. Elena negotiated film rights. Hollywood sniffing. Gone Girl meets Big Little Lies. Controversy peaked. Congressional hearing on suburban vigilantism. Me invited as expert. DC swarmed. Suits starched. Testimony. Fear isn't hysteria. It's survival. Soundbites viral. Unburied moms trending. Back in Hills. Normalcy beckoned. Tommy's birthday, 7. Dino-themed bash with co-op kids. Cakes smashed gleefully. Marlene brought Vanessa's locket, cleaned. Gold gleaming. For him, when ready, I nodded. Throat tight. Legacy. Not curse. But twists linger. Summer. A letter, and signed. Postmarked Chillicothe. The Rosebush wasn't the only secret. Ask Rick about the fire. Fire? Rick's Akron apartment. 15, total loss. Blamed on wiring. I called Elena. Dig. Report. Arson trace. Hushed by insurance. Harlan's PI on peril. Rick. Cornered via burner. It was him. Torch job for unpaid loan. I ran. Coward. But closure. Filed charges. Cold case thawed. Fall harvest. Sunflowers seeding. Tommy planted one. For Aunt V. Wise kid. Winter solstice. Full moon again. We hiked to the creek. Lanterns bobbing. Mommy. Why'd the bad man do it?
Truth.
Age appropriate. He was scared of losing control. Tommy pondered. Control's dumb. Love's better.
Love.
The reset's gift. Fame ebbs. Book steady seller. I teach workshops now. Self-defense for moms.
No guns.
Just grit. Unbury your power, I say. Harlan, appeals exhausted. Transferred to Supermax. Last I heard. Shank fight. Lost an eye. Karma's thorn.
Me?
Scarred. But blooming. The .38? Melted down. Creek offering. Second life. Not perfect. But mine. Thorny paths lead to light. Years fold like accordions. Time's cruel trick. Compressing chaos to memory. Tommy's 10 now. Lanky limbs and a voice cracking toward manhood. Our cabin less outpost. More home. Solar panels glinting on the roof. A treehouse Harlan's ghost couldn't touch. Mornings. He brews my coffee black. 2 sugars, while I peck at emails. The workshop empire grown. Online courses. Unburied resilience. Women worldwide logging in from Manila to Mumbai. You saved me. One writes from Texas. Post-EV escape.
Saved.
Echo of Marlene's words. Marlene's a fixture. Summers at the lake. Her laugh chasing fireflies. She remarried last spring. A quiet librarian named Paul. Wedding small. Tommy ring bearer in a clip-on bow tie. Aunt V would approve, she toasted, eyes misty.
Rick?
A specter. Occasional cards for Tommy's birthday, crayon-scrawled love. Dad. Forwarded unopened. Last contact. A plea from rehab. Let me make amends. I forwarded to Elena. Restraining order upgrade. The book's anniversary edition dropped. Forward by Oprah herself. Delilah Hale unearths the dirt on domestic terror. Film and production. Script tweaks via Zoom. My input fierce. No glamour. Just grit. Lead actress? A rising star with eyes like Vanessa's. Haunting. Controversy mellowed to legend. The gun debate? Sparked bills in Ohio. Hale's shields for concealed carry training. Protests faded, but scars linger. A troll doxes me yearly. Address leaked. Mike. Now chief of my security detail, fancy title for buddy with a badge. Laughs it off. Let him come. Hills eat city boys. Tommy knows pieces. The book read cover to cover at 9. Questions gentle. Did it hurt? Mommy? Dying inside. Like hell, I admit.
No sugar.
But coming back? Worth every scar. He nods. Doodling comics. Delilah versus. The Rose Dragon. Heroine with my freckles. Tommy as sidekick T-Rex. School's a hybrid, co-op plus online. Him devouring paleontology texts.
Mom.
Did dinos have secrets buried too? Bedtime query. Flashlight under sheets. Probably. Earth hides a lot.
Earth.
The cabin's yard. Wildflower meadow now. Sunflowers receding annual. No roses, ever. But one dusk. Tommy unearths a fossil shard while digging for treasure. Look. Real dino. Ammonite. Spiral perfect. We frame it. Mantle throne. Twist's shadow falls spring 25. Harlan's suicide note smuggled out. Auctioned on dark web before Fed snag it. Elena forwards redacted. Delilah one.
But the boy?
My blood runs deeper than you know. Check the clinic records. July 12.
Clinic.
Fertility? My mind reels, Rick and I. Trying post-wedding. His swimmer's weak. IVF whispers. Dismissed as stress.
I dig.
Elena's team hacking ethics loose. Records from Cleveland Fertility Center. July 10th. 2012. Anonymous donor sample. Harlan Graves ID'd. Rick's treatment? Cover. Harlan sperm. Laundered through payoffs.
No.
Nausea surges. Tommy Harlan's? DNA retest. Rush.
Private lab.
Waits agony. Days of hikes. Forcing normalcy. Tommy senses. You okay? Mom?
Fine. Bull.
Dino dreams. Results ping midnight. 99.8% match. Harlan. World tilts. Betrayal cubed Rick knew. Pimped not just silence, but lineage. Harlan's uncle act. Grooming claim.
Dawn.
I wake Tommy gentle. We need to talk. Park bench. Sunrise gilding hills. Your dad. Biologically, it's Harlan. Confusion creases his brow. The bad man?
Yeah.
Voice cracks. But that changes nothing. You're mine. Always. He processes. 10-year-old wisdom. DNA's just science. Loves the real thing. Hugs fierce. Small arms iron. But the storm brews internal. Harlan spawn? Nature versus nurture. Does evil code in genes? I watch Tommy sleep. Seeking signs. Jawline echo? No. All boy. All light. Marlene arrives. Pie forgotten. Fuck him. Tommy's ours.
Ours.
We lawyer up, seal records. Therapy for Tommy, Dino puppets easing talks. Elena, slander suit on the estate?
Emilio? No.
Burn it. Summer heals slow. Workshops pivot. Legacy lies. Unpacking blood ties. Attendees nod. Share, adoptions. Secrets unearthed. Your proof, biology bows to choice.
Choice.
My resets core. Fall. Tommy's comic wins school contest. Heroes choose their hearts. Framed beside the fossil. Winter solstice ritual. Creek lanterns. Wishes whispered. Tommy's adventure with mom. Mine, peace. Unthorny. Film premieres spring 26, red carpet skipped. Home screening with popcorn. Tommy cheers. That's you. Badass. Badass. Laugh through tears. Harlan's ghost? Exorcised.
Prison suicide 24, ange dans bedsheet.
Notes last gasp.
No closure.
But finality. Years spool, Tommy teens. Driving lessons on dirt roads. College scouts for geology. I write sequel. Roots and roses, truth unbound. Controversy? Fodder for TED Talks. Revenge as reinvention. Audiences rapt. You turned poison to power.
Power.
Once borrowed from a gun. Now rooted deep. Final twist? Gentle. Rick's obituary. 28, overdose. Akron Motel. Note to Tommy. Sorry I failed. Love you true. We burn it. Ashes to creek. Forgiveness? Not yet. But release.
Now.
50-ish. Lines etching laugh, more than cry. Tommy off to Yale, fossils calling. Cabin quiet. But full. Marlene's visits. Grandkids someday? Sunset porch. Wildflowers nodding. The rosebush? A metaphor. Buried. Secrets? Outgrown. Reborn. Not flawless. But fierce.
America.
Messy. Mended. Our lives. Changed, chosen. For Tommy, the boy who broke the bush. Unearthed truth. My hero.